Here's the thing, Nigerians really love money. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We hustle harder than anybody on this planet. From Lagos to Kano, from the market of Onisha to the street of Aba, Nigerians will grind until their fingers bleed, if it means putting food on the table. But there is one thing Nigerians cannot stand, one thing that makes our blood boil, hotter than NEPA taking light during Champions League final, and that thing is our rich class. So Chatham House surveyed some states in 2023 to find out how corrupt Nigeria is, and the result, it was really overwhelming. So this is a map of Africa, and Nigeria is right here, and this index is from most corrupt to least corrupt, and from this you can see that Nigeria is pretty pink, which means from the findings Nigeria is amongst the most corrupt in Africa. But enough of that for now. Back to our discussion. Nigerians do hate its rich class, not the money, not the success, not the guys who built their business from scratch. Here I am talking about the parasites, the leeches, the people who sit at the mountain of wealth, the top 1% in the country. Those leeches. It's crazy how much wealth somebody will be sitting on, and if I may say, ill-gotten wealth, and still have the effrontery to tell us to tighten our belts. You see, Nigeria is a country of extreme contradictions. We are Africa's largest economy by GDP, the 19th in the world. That is by purchasing power, of course. We have the largest oil reserve on the entire continent. Over 230 million people, a massive young entrepreneurial workforce. And yet, 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. That is about 133 million people. That is a crazy number for people who lack clean water, adequate sanitation, quality healthcare, and education. From everything that we know, the question that keeps running through people's mind is Nigeria a poor country? Well, the stats says otherwise, but we have a bigger concern, our rich, wealthy class. Now, while the richest 1% of Nigerians hold 25.5% of the nation's wealth, the bottom 50% hold just 4.7%. It's crazy to imagine that one person's income, that is someone who is in the top 1% in Nigeria, can comfortably pay for 37 people in the bottom 50% of the country. And here's the part that should want to make you flip the table. The combined wealth of Nigeria's 5 richest men, which is equal to 29.9 billion, could end extreme poverty at a national level. That is crazy. Yet 5 million Nigerians face hunger right now, while the richest man in the country would have to spend $1 million every single day for 42 years just to exhaust his fortune. So the answer is no. Nigerians don't hate money. We hate the people who stole ours. Now, let's start with the most obvious reason why Nigerians despise the rich class, and that is for the simple fact that they did not earn it, not in any way that resembles actual work. So between 1960 and 2005, approximately about 20 trillion was stolen from Nigerian treasury by public office holders. Mind you, this amount is larger than the GDP of the United States, which is about 18 trillion. And this was just 2005. We're in 2026 now. Imagine what the number looks like today. And here's the thing, corruption in Nigeria isn't some abstract concept. It's not a spreadsheet error. It's a lifestyle. It's a business model. Now, let's talk about the political side of this. The political system is rife with what researchers call elite capture. Most Nigerians know this as godfatherism. This is a system where the wealthy individual will sponsor candidates for office, and those candidates, once elected, become accountable to their sponsors instead of the people. These godfathers invest heavily into politics, almost the same way people invest in stocks, eagerly waiting for returns. If their guy wins, contracts will go to allies, public funds will get diverted into private accounts, state resources become personal property. And the worst part, this isn't some backroom secret. Everybody knows about this. The media knows, the people know. The international community knows, but that doesn't really stop the machine. The machine just keeps going. The only people who could stop this are the people doing it. Even the people who are supposed to catch these thieves are the thieves themselves. It's thieves catching thieves. And the only people who never get caught are the people at the top, the very top. Now, if you think the theft stops at the treasury, you haven't met the Nigerian tax system yet. 99% of high net worth individuals in Nigeria evade tax. 99%. Let that sink in. While the average Nigerian workers are earning 70,000 a month, that is about $42. That $42 or 70,000 naira is fully getting taxed. Whereas the people in private jets and mansions in Banana Island pay nothing. Nigeria's tax to GDP is just 6%, one of the lowest in the world. And it's not because Nigerians don't pay taxes, it's because the people with the most money refuse to. A 1% tax on stock shares alone could raise approximately $492 million annually. A progressive net wealth tax could generate over $6 billion every year. That is enough to double Nigerians' health budget. But no, instead the government places a more erroneous tax burden on the poor through multiple taxation of small businesses, while at the same time granting tax waivers to big multinational companies connected to the elite. The system is designed to squeeze the poor and protect the rich. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It was intentionally made and it is working perfectly. Now, let's talk about the fuel subsidy removal of 2023, because this is where the marks really came off. On May 29, 2023, President Bola Tinubu stood up and declared the subsidy is gone, just like that. No warning, no transition plan, no safety net. Fuel price skyrocketed from 162 naira, that is per litre of course, to 617 overnight. And by 2024, the price hit about 895 naira. Transportation costs exploded, food prices followed, inflation went through the roof. The World Bank projected that the removal could push between 7 and 10 million additional Nigerians into poverty, and it did, and even more. 73% of Nigerians surveyed reported that the subsidy removal increased their spending. And here's the kicker. Well, not really the kicker at this point, because we know that nothing is actually done for the poor. The fuel subsidy was never really helping the poor in the first place. Studies confirmed it was a rent extraction mechanism benefiting politically connected importers, smugglers, and the rich, while the poor got crumbs. So here's what you need to know. The rich created a corrupt subsidy system, profited from it for decades, and then when it became politically convenient, they removed it and dumped the cost on the poor. Isn't that crazy? It's the perfect scam. Create the problem, profit from the problem, then blame the problem on the people suffering from it. And when the organized labor threatened to strike, what happened? Negotiations, compromises, the same circle, the same script. The rich will always win. Now, some of you are probably thinking, but what about Dangote? He built the refinery. He is creating jobs. He's industrializing Nigeria. So let's talk about Dangote, because the Dangote story is the perfect example of everything wrong with the Nigerian rich class. The Dangote refinery is a $20 billion facility, 650,000 barrels per day, one of Africa's biggest private industrial investment. By April 2026, it was supplying nearly 80% of Nigeria's petroleum consumption. And yet, Nigerians are divided. Some see him as a visionary, others see him as a monopolist who has captured the entire state. Whichever way you lean, here is what the mythology is living out. Dangote continuously receive preferential treatment by government actors. The Petroleum Industry Act was supposed to boost transparency, but licensing and contracting remains obscure. The NNPC, which is supposed to be the national oil company, is literally suing Dangote refinery while simultaneously owning a stake in it. The contradiction. It would have been really funny if it was not destroying the country. Over $3.1 billion was spent on repairing Nigeria's public refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna, and they still do not work. $1.5 billion was spent on Port Harcourt alone. Meanwhile, Dangote built his own port, his own roads, his own power system. Why was it easy for Dangote to build and not the state? Because the state is broken. It's so broken that private individuals had to build infrastructure the government should have built decades ago. And now that he's done, we're supposed to be grateful to the government. The former president of Nasima, Dele Oye, said it best. He said maintaining import licensing despite existing domestic refining capacity amounts to penalizing the player who built the stadium while rewarding those who merely show up to play. But here's my question. Who gave Dangote the land? Who gave him the permits? Who gave him the tax breaks? Who made sure his competitors couldn't get crude oil allocations? The same system that steals from the poor to feed the rich is the same system that made Dangote a billionaire, while 133 million Nigerians can't afford 3 square meals. Let's bring this home. Let's talk about how life really looks like for the average Nigerian in 2026. The national minimum wage is 70,000 naira a month. That is $42. In Lagos, it's about 85,000 naira, roughly $51. And the labor union said even that isn't a living wage. The average gross monthly salary in Nigeria is around 339,000 naira. That is about $220. A modest household budget falls between 200,000 and 400,000 a month just for rent, food, and transport. Meanwhile, the cost of living has exploded. Fuel subsidy removal raised transport costs. Naira depreciation made imports more expensive. Food inflation, things that the average Nigerians could normally afford, are now a luxury. And while all this is happening, Nigerian lawmakers, which are a tiny fraction of the whole population, are some of the highest paid in the world, earning as much as $118,000 a year in a country where over 60% live in abject poverty, where 57 million people lack safe water, where over 130 million people lack adequate sanitation, where more than 10 million children are out of school. Nigeria spent just 6.5% of its national budget on education and 3.5% on health. This was in 2012. Ghana, by comparison, spent 18.5% on education and 12.8% on health in 2015. We do not invest in our people because the people in charge don't need public schools. Of course, their kids are in London. They don't need public hospital. They can just fly to Dubai. They don't need public roads. They have helicopters. The rich class in Nigeria lives in a completely different country from the rest of us, and they have the audacity to tell us to be patient, to tighten our belts, to trust the process. Now, just like most parasitic billionaires, the Nigerian rich class loves selling us a myth of being self-made. I started with nothing, they will say. I worked 20 hours a day. I sacrificed everything, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, most Nigerian billionaires got their start through political connections, through state contracts, through oil block allocations, through access to foreign exchange at official rates, while the rest of us bought it at the black market. They did not build businesses in a free market. They built empires on state capture, on using government power to eliminate competition, on getting licenses that nobody else could get. The World Inequality Lab's 2026 report shows that globally, the top 1% control 37% of all wealth. In Nigeria, that concentration is even more extreme. And it's not about just the money, it's about power. The rich class doesn't just want to be wealthy. They want to control the state, the media, the narrative, and your mind. They fund political campaigns, they own media houses, they sponsor religious leaders, they create a mythology where their wealth is proof of divine favor or exceptional intelligence. And the annoying thing is, millions of poor Nigerians defend these parasites because they've been sold the lie that if they pray hard enough and hustle long enough, they too can join the club. Spoiler alert, you are most likely never going to be a billionaire. The system is designed to make sure of that. So when Nigerians say they hate the rich class, this is what we mean. We don't hate success, we just hate theft. We don't hate wealth, we hate exploitation. We don't hate businesses, we hate the rigged game. Nigeria has enough wealth to give every single citizen a decent life. The oil is there, the human capital is there, the entrepreneurial spirit is there. But this can never happen if the wealth still remains concentrated in the hands of a few thousand people who have captured the state, corrupted every institution, and built a wall around their privilege. And every time we talk about taxing them, redistributing the wealth, or even just enforcing existing laws, the same chorus starts. But they will leave, but investment will dry up, but Nigeria needs them. What I will say to that is let them leave. Let them take their stolen wealth to Dubai or London or wherever their next tax haven is. Because the truth is, Nigeria doesn't need billionaires. Nigeria needs a functional institution instead. Nigeria needs public schools that work, public hospitals that don't kill you, roads that don't swallow your car, electricity that stays on, security that protects everybody, not just the rich. And all of that is possible. It just requires the one thing the rich class will never allow, and that is for the rest of us to actually have power. So the next time you see a Nigerian billionaire on TV talking about giving back or talking about corporate social responsibility, remember, they are not giving back. They are returning a fraction of what they have stolen. It's exactly the same way a pickpocket doesn't donate your wallet back to you. Nigerians love money. We always have, we always will. But we will never love the people who got rich by making us poor. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. It should, because the only way this will actually change is if enough of us stop worshipping these parasites and start demanding what was always ours. Thank you for watching. Please give us a like and a follow, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.